My name is John McKeon, and I'm the moderator of the Teradata Aprimo River community, Teradata Aprimo's largest customer community. You can connect with us at teradataRiver2.com. Today, we are talking with Dmitry Bandouil, Enterprise Database Services for PepsiCo. He is speaking at Partners Conference this year. And as you know, PepsiCo has a lot of data. They generate about $1 million for every product line, and they're in 200 different countries, and their net revenues are about $43 billion. So it should be a really interesting session for him to talk about his new implementation of AJIs. And the title is actually called Aggregate Join Indices, Best Practices and Implementation Example. So, Dmitry, first of all, let's get the basics on the aggregated join indices, the AJIs. Tell me, what are they and what are the basic benefits that you're experiencing from them?
Well, Aggregate Join Index is a database managed structure that is a great replacement for summary tables, and part of the definition is that it's an index and it's maintained entirely by the DBMS. And, of course, it adds some limitations, but it adds some advantages to the structures.
So essentially, Dmitry, you're replacing the summary tables.
Right.
And so tell me a little bit about the self-control structures and the table alignments. How does this change that?
The AJIs, they eliminate additional ETL that's potentially complex logic that you would require otherwise to maintain summary structures. So that a great advantage of AJIs. Then, of course, reporting performance will improve when you have AJIs supporting the query, and in that regard, we've seen some great improvement in our sales data warehouse system that was recently built.
So, Dmitry, how is this going to help the DBAs?
From the DBA perspective, there's a great benefit, as I mentioned, on the maintenance side, where you don't have to be aware of different summary structures, but also on the DBA side, you have good mechanism that DBMS provides that keeps your summary tables in sync with the underlying fact and dimensional structures, and that eliminates the maintenance concerns.
So what about using BI tools? Does this tie you into what you're using for BI-wise, or is it more agnostic?
The fact that AJIs, they push aggregate awareness down to the database, it's a great advantage because as an enterprise environment, we have different business intelligence tools, whether it's business objects, MicroStrategy, or others, whatever the flavor of the day is, and but also depending on the application needs. And it appears that it's better to have the aggregate awareness on the database level, so the system is agnostic of what BI tool it uses. That it could be actually different BI tools accessing the same database, all benefiting from the same aggregate structures.
So, Dmitry, in terms of best practices and any alligators out there, are these optimized for certain schemas like Starflake or how they do with third normal form? What's the best practice for AJIs?
AJIs could be built on different types of schemas. We found that they're best suited for Snowflake schemas. Regular star schemas would be good candidate as well. They can even benefit third normal form structures, but we haven't had much experience on that side. But on the Snowflake structures, that's where we saw the biggest benefit. And then this is where we found that it's always good to have soft referential integrity between all the fact and dimension tables. Of course, when you have soft RI, you have to make sure that ETL has appropriate checks to not allow duplicates. And as far as other best practices, you have to consider that you want to keep only the key columns in the AJIs. Don't include the volatile columns that could cause lengthy updates on AJIs.
So you're saying there's a lot of impact on the ETL maintenance?
Yes, there could be impact on the ETL. Obviously, like any secondary index that's added on the table with additional overhead, with AJIs being more complex indices, if there's volatile data in the columns from the dimension tables, that's where ETL developers and DBAs need to be careful, and that there need to be some processes put in place to have some estimates on what kind of impact could result from certain updates. And so this is why it's good to avoid those volatile columns.
So you did some implementation, and you've got some stories to tell us. Give us a little bit of insight into space savings and CPU impact.
Right. We have recently built a sales data warehouse for one of the divisions, actually migrated the system from DB2 environment into Teradata. And we saw some good improvement just from doing that, but also we had tons of summary tables in the old environment and the DB2, and then we gradually replaced them with AJIs. And in several cases, single AJIs would serve the purpose of multiple summary tables because it would cover multiple queries. And there we saw on a significant number of queries the seed time going down from 25% to several times the shorter execution time and CPU time for queries. And as far as space savings, the multiple summary tables were replaced with just a small number of AGIs, and each being a fraction of the size of the actual fact table.
Amazing. So if you are out there and are interested in aggregate join indices, best practices, come see Dmitri's session. It should be a very interesting and detailed session. Dmitry, look forward to seeing you at Partners.
Thank you.